you from the set of choices in the precious name of Jesus. It is great to be alive in 2015. We are living in exciting and challenging time. And so we encourage our wonderful viewers to seek the Lord, pray, read His words, and have His promises fulfilled in your life. One of His promises says in Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11 and 12, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you." Stay tuned with us. God bless you.
Last week we began a spirited discussion on Guyana, and we established Guyana is a beautiful place. We noted also that Guyana is a land full of potential and purpose, and we need to make a concerted effort to rebuild as a nation. But as we consider the rebuilding of our nation, we want to examine the whole issue of service. As a people, if we are going to seriously engage in the rebuilding process, we, each and every one of us, we must see ourselves as servants and not as lords, you know. Not as lords, because lords have a way of becoming self-centered. And as you become self-centered, you have to be very mindful that you don't become a reproach in the eyes of many, and therefore unable to really garner the kind of support that you need, so that you could actually meet people at the point of their needs. You know, as we rebuild, we need to look at the needs of people and where we can assist and help one another. We must also seek to be united, because in unity there is strength, and where there is division, you know, division detracts from progress and from success. And we saw in Nehemiah in chapters 3 and 5 in particular, how Nehemiah was able to serve and to bring a nation into unity in order to rebuild those walls. And if that is going to happen, we must be first united in ourselves. You know, we can't have, you know, our body, you know, all over the place. We have to be united in ourselves first, united in families, united in organizations and institutions. And when this unity becomes pervasive, we will actually attain that or be on the road to successful rebuilding. So we want to continue to talk about this beautiful land and how we could actually continue to rebuild. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Because as we look at Nehemiah, the guy went into an environment where everything was destroyed. Everything. At least in Guyana, we are not at that stage. I mean, we're not at zero. Nehemiah, when he went to Jerusalem, he found them perhaps in a number line -10 or whatever. I mean, the infrastructure was destroyed, but the most, I think, critical discovery made was that the people did not have a mind to work. The people were discouraged, and therefore he had a major task. What we are seeking to benefit by reflecting on Nehemiah is to look how he was able to inspire. And as we go into 2015, we are trying to inspire all of us to, listen, take a look at where you are now, and by the help of God, take a look at where you can be. And as individuals, as families, and as a nation. One of the ways in which Nehemiah was able to accomplish this unbelievable task in the time that he accomplished it in is that he motivated people.
Yeah.
And chapter 3 is like a hall of fame, a listing of those who were motivated. He didn't do it all by himself. And he got people who improved, they provided a service and they improved the goodwill. Listen, I am impressed by the businessmen, the ordinary businessmen who operate a Puri establishment. We call it Puri, or things like Puri and Chana and whatever else they do. I think it's around somewhere in Roxhambornham. That's
Yes.
Those folks must be highly commended for what they do, the service that they provide. But if we look at their work through the eyes or the lens of Nehemiah, they can even do better.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage those who are doing good to do better. That's the whole thrust of the thing. And so we can improve a product. We have a fledgling tourism product in this country, and the product would really kick off if we all buy into it. And if we all buy into it, we could, using the Nehemiah model, we could accomplish much.
Having said that, Bishop, it is very important for us to understand that there are two elements to the rebuilding process: the external and the internal. And when I speak of the external, I speak of the physical, what we might see, the service we might provide. But the internal speaks to the values that we have as individuals, understanding that if we are to align ourselves with the Word of God, allow the Word of God to so mold us and to help us to be better servants or better service providers, we can do better for our nation, for our community, and even for our families.
What we are actually saying is that as you present yourself, that you're the individual that has the skill, you can bring it on board because you're doing it for the glory and the honor of God. Your thoughts, your words, how you interact with people, customer service. When you speak to somebody, they must want to come back to your stand. So you're saying Guyana is a wonderful place instead of saying Guyana is blah, 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 blah. So we're saying to people now, in order to encourage the tourism that we're going after, please measure and really assess the words that you declare. Because it's such a powerful thing. We have creative ability that God has given to us. Every word that we speak creates an environment. We've been creating some things that God is not pleased about. So let's recreate or rebuild exactly what God wants.
You know,
Speaking His thoughts.
service attracts people. You know, when you're a servant and you serve, you attract people to you. And for example, if you have a business, your business can only expand and get better, even as you demonstrate that. And you know, I'm reflecting now, and I remember a family, a relative of mine, took her car and forgot her gold ring at a particular car wash, you know, and when she got back the vehicle, the ring was not there. And she took the vehicle back and asked, and the people said that they didn't see any ring and so on. And so she lost that. But ultimately what has happened is that nobody that she knows of her car will never go back there. And so, and she's going to spread that word on everybody. And so we have to, if we're going to rebuild, we have to be service oriented, because and that's the way we will be united. We will attract one another as we reach out to one another in love, you know, and in goodwill.
Penny wise and pound foolish. Whoever did that. And another element, when I look at Nehemiah, these are modern day terms they use to describe different scenarios. But when I look at Nehemiah, he really used low technology, very low cost, and in some instances no cost, but he got maximum output, maximum benefit. And he used this to be able to do tremendous things. And I believe that if we become creative, listen, the thousands of Guyanese who return and foreigners who return home, and they tasted our indigenous plantain chip. They tasted our indigenous mitai. I don't know, I can't measure it, but I had lots of family coming home this Christmas. And I tell you something, they all wanted to have these things that are particularly Guyanese to take back. No, they chose a particular person. Why? Not just for security concerns, but they were good. They are good at what they do. And that person's been challenged personally, and now I am not too sure that they can supply the demand that they have, because they're doing a good work.
Yeah.
And if we keep doing that, employment, our contribution to the national coffers, development, all those things will happen.
You know, Pastor, I consider myself a very conservative spender. But I have gone repeatedly to places because of the service that has been offered. You know, from entering the premises, there is this welcoming smile, a disarming smile, the service that the person would offer. So I find myself going back, yes, the product is good, but I think more than that is the service that is offered. And if you look also at some of our national songs, for example, Let Us Cooperate for Guyana, it tells us that we have a product that the world needs. But if we can come together, we can have the resolve, the strength and the courage in coming together and working with each other, we will sell products that the world needs, and we will make some fantastic profits. But we need to develop and we need to improve our level of service.
You know, Nehemiah provided excellent leadership in that he motivated the people that were discouraged. And at the end of it, the Bible says in Nehemiah chapter 4:6, the people had a mind to work. And that is so critical and important for our rebuilding. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And if we see ourselves as going to the top, we must have a collaborative effort, and we must have strong leadership that will motivate the people to come to that place where we recognize that the service that we offer is so important, that as we offer good service, it will not only remain here, but people will tell others who will come to our shores to see the type of service that we offer. So it is important for our mindset to be right, so that we can offer the service, and we must be able to work together to accomplish this purpose.
A mind change will go a long way, even in helping in the traffic situation. We are in a terrible state with regards to the use of the road. Sometimes I wonder if there is a real misunderstanding of the two B's, because instead of brakes, you hear blowing of horns, and it is ridiculous. Persons, you've got to change your mind. You have to be courteous. This morning, I came out to much delight to see the brilliance of the illumination on the East Bank highway. It was for the first time I saw the lights, minus one pole. A minibus ran into it and caused the death of one of our citizens. We have to bring about a change.
And that change will come as we desire to work hard. You know, as hard-working Guyanese, we all desire well for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, and our nation as a whole. But in order for us to reach to that place, we will have to invest in training. We will have to adopt a particular mindset. We'll have to have a heart of service, and we have so many opportunities that we can use to inculcate some of those habits and attitudes. And it starts right in the home, right around that round table, or if you, wherever you sit, wherever you eat. And it starts from there. And so before we offer to the world, because once you're good, wherever you are, people will find you.
Yes.
And so before we offer what we have to the world, let us develop ourselves. Let us be encouraged to do well, because we all are skillful. We have a unique opportunity to develop our skills and our abilities, and then we'll be able to market whatever we have as a nation.
When I look at chapter 3 in the book of Nehemiah, you can see that the way that he do things with the people that they were longing to go and work. This is co-op. Co-op come right back in this book here because of how they build the wall. This family built from here to there, this family built, the priests and them, they build the gate and everything. We're looking at co-op. And if we do come back with co-op in this country, we will do well. Yes, we will do well if we come with co-op in this country, cooperate with each other, service, helping each other, show people love and these things, and everything will be in order.
You know, it is touted that Guyana has got a good hospitality mentality. The people in Guyana, they are very hospitable. We have heard it proclaimed over and over. But let's take it to another level. Let's inculcate hospitality with courtesy and good service. Because these are things that will help us to be better people. And like you said, Brother Milton, cooperating, if we work and when we work together, we can achieve so many things.
When you were,
for the glory of Guyana.
when you were speaking about the hospitality and we as a people, we are hospitable, I was thinking of a word just run to my mind, hostile. And I'll tell you why. Because there are talks here and there about situation and about behavior of people from different groupings. The time has come for us to find out why people behave in a certain way. Nehemiah was concerned about the entire nation, about the well-being of all the people. You know something? If you go to the hospital with a sick foot, you know who else will be there? Your entire body. Your hand might be sick, but your entire body will go to the hospital. The time has come where we must really take credence in this motto of one people, one nation, and one destiny, and be here for all the people, all the time.
I think that is so critical, well said. Having an understanding that each and every person has a part to play in the rebuilding process. And though we might believe that the common man might not be able to contribute, he or she has an important part to play in the rebuilding. And like Nehemiah, he looked into the interests of the people, those who were complaining about not having food, of having to mortgage their homes in order to get grain and these things, you know. A leader will not be a leader for some people, but as we rebuild, the leader must be the leader for everyone.
You know, if I could follow up on that point, Nehemiah as a leader was concerned with, and I want to steal Bishop your point here, social injustice, you know. He was concerned that, and if we're going to be servants and service-oriented, we have to be concerned about the injustices that might be taking place in the nation. And in chapter 5, it says, others were saying, we are mortgaging our fields, vineyards, and homes to get grain during the famine. Still others were saying, we have borrowed money to pay the king's tax. How could you borrow money to pay tax on our fields and vineyards? We, at verse 5, we and our children are just like our countrymen, and their children, yet we are subjecting our sons and daughters to slavery. Some of our daughters are already enslaved, but we are powerless because our fields and vineyards belong to others. And here at verse 6 says, Nehemiah said, when I heard this as a leader, the outcry, I was extremely hungry. And so he decided to do something about it. So, you know, if we're going to be service-oriented, we have to be concerned about the injustices that might be taking place, you know, in the society.
Well, it is all well and good for us to say all of those things, but I'd like to add one of the other elements that can very well interfere with our approach to providing a better service is we are descending into a culture of disorder. And the traffic situation that was alluded to early on, at the beginning of the year, I took a break and I went to football, and I couldn't believe that at a certain time, patrons who paid just like me, but were very disorderly, came and stood right in front of me. So I couldn't see. So that means that I have to stand, the man behind me can't see. When the people designed that stadium, they designed it in such a way that once you take a seat, you pay for it, you take a seat. Everyone should take a seat, and the rails will be free, and we'll all be able to view whatever we've gone there. But then you have some others who have come, and they just take over. Now in that place, you need to have some kind of restraint. I remember years ago, looking at West Indies playing in Australia, and one commentator, who was Guyanese, was referring to how orderly the people were. And another commentator said, orderly? Don't you see those dogs? Don't you see those police officers who are restraining them? Whenever we have these big events, we must not assume that people will be orderly. You know, and that was a bad experience to me because, and you know who did it? Our women folk. Young women came, and I don't know which planet they came from. We couldn't get them to move. One brother even went and cajoled, those girls didn't understand the kind of language. And so they stood there defiant and said, we pay money to. So disorder is something that we have to deal with also.
And we have to come against the whip mentality too, you know. And you know, I remember years ago, you know, going to the movies and so on, and you had these nice shows, Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef and all these big, and they had these thick lines and people fighting and tumbling and pushing, and then the police, you know, would come, and the police had whips, and they started to fire lashes, you know, Wild West, as we would say. And if you saw, you get a line form from Astor right down Waterloo, all of a sudden, and you know, when this line was formed, people started to go in the cinema easily, you know, after the big fight. And so we have to move away from a mentality where somebody has to come with a whip or come with guns and then we decide to get in order, because that's not what God wants.
A friend of mine was in Nigeria last year, and he was at the airport. There were about 10 or 15 of them in this group, and he said as they approached the counter, people were fighting to get on the flight. There was no problem, there was no chaos, there was no crisis, but the disorder, they were fighting, coughing and those kinds of things, and lifting the suitcases above each other's head. But these same people, 200 plus, got aboard this plane, and when the plane touched down in America, these same people formed a line, and they all went orderly. He said he was amazed with the transformation. Some of us will only be orderly. We call it the whip mentality. And especially the whip comes with a very clear skin. You know, that's the reason some of us will really only. We have to change those kinds of things. We have to understand, take responsibility for ourselves, and behave.
You know, we must bring back the word decency in our vocabulary, because we throw decency one side now, you know, and just throw vulgarity, these things that are happening now. We have to bring back decency, and everything will go in order.
We
I
must
think that we
recognize-
started in a home, well, a home should be the place we started. I saw a very good example. I think it was Tuesday morning. I was going to work. Yes, and right outside Parliament building, there was a destitute man lying there. And out of nowhere, I saw a policeman, well dressed in uniform, came and offered the man lying there a box of food. Well, I knew it was food because the man opened the box and it was food. It wasn't leftover. And I said, here's a man or who represents an organization that is sometimes, accused of excesses. But he saw the need to help this man who was lying in the street there. And I am sure the training that he demonstrated there, he got it from home. We can trace it right back to home. So the vulgarity that you're talking about, Millie, I think we need to correct those things right in the home. And if we build from the home outward, then we'll have a better society.
There seems to be a direct correlation between service and greatness. Here Jesus in Matthew chapter 20 verse 27, he says, and whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. And we believe what is true for an individual in this context is true for community, is true for a nation. I mean, you just have to look and see those nations that we would want to call great. Check their level of service, check the emphasis that they put on service. And we are not far away from that. If we just pool our resources together and recognize that there is greatness in us, we can do this.
I wish you had taken a photograph of that officer in uniform serving the destitute. In my mind I can see the picture. I have a very powerful imagination. I wish you had a photograph. That is priceless. Could you imagine that on the front page of our newspapers? A destitute being served? Could you imagine that being used in training school? Those moments are, you don't program them, you don't plan them, but they happen. Could you imagine that being used to train recruits, joining that institution? This is who we are.
Service.
Service and protection, and that kind of image. And we must develop similarly a kind of picture that we are good at what we do. We serve and we love serving you. God bless you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for being part of Choices. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly for any of our regular weekly services. I am Suleisha on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.